Hello, Faith Leader. Welcome to Breakime. Today, Psalm 18:6 says, "In my distress, I called to the Lord." Can you hear his? Because the passages before this, David talks about how distressed he was, how overwhelmed he was by life. But in his distress, he did something. He called. "And I cried to my God for help. From his temple, he heard my voice. My cry came before him into his ears." David's distress, David's being overwhelmed with life, led him to a place where he could find answers. He came to this place before God. He cried before the Lord. That was David's source of strength. That, man, I wish I could get this. And it was his place where he knew he could find what he needed for life. He didn't go searching out here in the world trying to find answers for life's toughest issues, but instead he got before God and he cried. And he knew that God heard his cry. And as a result of God hearing his cry, he sensed that his distress was alleviating. He was finding strength. He was finding renewal. He was finding a different perspective, and he was finding the Lord. And so some of you might be in these overwhelming, overpowering circumstances, to the place where you're feeling crushed, to the place where you feel like the world is coming in around you. That's what David felt. To the place where if that's your place, you have answers. But it's in that place that me and you have got to learn that we need to fall before God and cry and turn to him. And that's the place where answers are released. That's the place where even knowing that God has heard my prayer brings me to a whole different place here. That I'm not alone here. I have a source of strength. My battles are not my own. But oftentimes, I don't know about you, I get my cues from the world. If everything around here is going good, then I can be okay. But that's so different than the way that God handles you and me. When all this is falling apart, when the world seems to crush in, when your work is not going well, when your home life, it might be in a bad place. That's the place that oftentimes when we're squeezed, that's the place we find the Lord. And oftentimes life has to squeeze us so much that it might get us to that place where all that stuff is squeezed out of us, to the place where, now God has a place that he can call home. Now God has a place where that I can rely upon his strength because I've emptied myself of myself. Does that make sense? Persecution does that. It empties myself of me, in those places where I'm ugly. Those places where maybe I'm not who I should be with Christ, but man, allow him that space in you. Say, "Here I am, Lord, once again, broken, but I know that you hear me." Are you calling out? Call out today.